I'm delighted to call this meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock. And Mo, I'd like to call on you to do the roll call.
Good evening, Commissioners. Commissioner Goodman.
Here.
Commissioner Reed is excused tonight. Commissioner Glazier.
Here.
Commissioner Bowen.
Here.
Commissioner Maya.
Here.
Vice Chair Houghton.
Here.
And Chair Arcuri is excused tonight. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mo. Brian, is there any changes to the agenda?
No.
Thank you. I'll read the notices that on Friday, April 14th, 2022 at 5 p.m., the Airport Commission Secretary duly posted this agenda on the bulletin board at the Airport Administration. Okay, Mo, you've given me one speaker form. Are there any others? Okay. For anyone here in the audience, does anyone else wish to speak during the public comment? Okay. Well, under those circumstances, we allow 3 minutes for each speaker to speak, and you must be Mr. Alexander? I am. All right. You are welcome to speak. Hopefully we can find you a microphone, right? Yes.
Thank you all for the opportunity to speak. I'm here just as an informative. I'm here as an informative speaker, just to let you know, as a communication, that the formation of a new organization has started. It's starting the SAA over again during COVID. That organization kind of closed down, and also with Frank and his current state. So a group of pilots known to many of you, I'm not, but to many of you, have started another group again. We're kind of calling it the Santa Barbara Aviators to start with. Again, the goal of this is to be a communication hub, and I want to stress the word communication for the Santa Barbara pilot community, available for all ages. What the organization it's going to be is it's going to be a resurrection of the SAA, getting the Santa Barbara Flying Club involved, the Corona Flyers, Channel Flyers, Young Eagles, Sheriff Squadron, maybe above all, and any other groups that have formed over the past couple years. But it's to more get everybody together again. And as I mentioned to you, familiar names are driving this. It's Taylor Job and myself, Craig Alexander. We're spearheading this. We've had numerous meetings with, as I said, many pilots that have been involved and are part of the organization. Our mission, we made a very strong mission statement to start with, and our mission statement is community, education, and access. That's all. I'll go into just real quick. Our first meeting is scheduled next month sometime. The invitations are going to go out to the full rosters of all these groups, just to find out who's active, who wants to be active, and things like that. Our first meeting will just be a meet and greet to get everyone reacquainted, and we're going to be handing out questionnaires as to what people want in an organization. Part of this meeting will be to develop a current roster of pilots or active people in the area. So far, we're estimating it's probably around 150, which is a good amount. We have the opportunity to utilize the Santa Barbara University Club for a venue, so we've got a good place to go. Part of our we hope to be monthly meetings. We've got a list of all the prior speakers, programs that have been offered, and seminars. We know what's good. We know what the community wants. We're going to utilize this, and we're going to go after this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alexander. Your
Okay.
time is up. We appreciate
Thanks.
it. Okay, the next item on our agenda is, is there any other comments? Any other cards, Mo? So, okay, we will move on to liaison reports. Our City of Goleta Liaison Council Member Kyle Richards is not here today, but we're delighted to see Eric Friedman, Councilman Friedman.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to In Person. So it's great to see some of you I haven't met yet in person, seen you on Zoom. But it don't have much of a report, but as the agenda item tonight is, we are entering budget season for the city. And so you'll hear the airport budget tonight. But I would encourage you to go to the city website because we do have a new budget tool. It's an online transparency tool. For the budget, it used to be printed out, but now the whole thing is online, and you go right to the city website. You go into the finance, you can type in budget in the search, and it has all this great information on the city budget, and it's really transformative in terms of understanding all the departments. And there's a lot of information on the airport in there, so I just encourage you all to take a look at it, and look forward to hearing tonight's presentation and meeting with some of you after, just to introduce ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Friedman. Any public comment based upon Councilman Friedman's presentation? Okay, so we will move on to a report from our Interim Airport Director, Brian Dumar.
All right. Thank you. I guess we could say Acting Chair Houghton.
Yes, okay.
And good to see you all in person this evening. It's a little bit of an adjustment after doing Zoom for so long, just getting used to being in the room. But I know a number of people have been looking forward to this night. And although the agenda is somewhat light, I think it's good to get some of the things worked out with technology and whatnot as we return to in person. Let's see, I have a number of quick things I wanted to share with you all. Starting with this item that has been kind of a recurring thing on the agenda, this report from the airport director, and it's kind of moved around in where it lands in the agenda. And I think the content over the years maybe had grown, and I brought it up closer to the top for this meeting because I felt like it would have been weird to be in my first in-person meeting and not say anything really until the end. So that's why it got brought forward. But I'm trying to keep this report from the airport director really brief. And part of that is because we have to, in accordance with Brown Act. We can't get into any real discussion other than I can provide some brief updates on things, and then that's really as far as we can go with it in a commission meeting. So just sort of a reminder on that, and then the things that I have to go over today I don't think would prompt much of a discussion, but I will run down through them now. Just some quick staffing updates, both here at the administration and on the airfield. Aaron Keller, our operations manager, he just took a position which will be starting, not exactly sure when, May or June in Rhode Island. So that's a big change from somebody who's been out here for a while. And because I don't have a date yet, I don't have a plan in place yet for filling that, but I wanted to let you all know because he may not, I don't know that he'll be at the next meeting. So I mean, ideally, he would have wanted to be here to share that with you all, but he's in Rhode Island right now. And then Matt Long over at Signature, I learned that he has accepted a position still with Signature, but in Austin, Texas, where he does have some family over in Texas, and timing's right for him in his career and with his family to make that move. He's been out here for a long time, so I feel like I'm losing another part of our administration. But he will still be a resource. He has made that commitment to me, and he wanted me to share with you all tonight that he will be available. Please continue to reach out to him if anything comes up that you would normally go to him for. But Signature will soon be appointing somebody to take his place. That hasn't been selected yet. And then lastly, on the staffing front, we've made a promotional appointment. Angie Doss, who was our marketing coordinator, is now our marketing supervisor. So just wanted to let you all know she's continuing to step up in her duties here at the airport. So we're excited about that. That kind of covers everything on the staffing front. We're pretty well staffed. We do have a number of vacancies in the operations side that we're working to try to get filled, but otherwise we're doing pretty well considering the challenges that have been in place with staffing and with turnover that's affected kind of everyone, whatever industry they've been in over the last couple of years. Mask update. So it's kind of crazy this week. A federal judge made a ruling on Monday morning that determined the mask mandates were unlawful. So we weren't sure what to do with that right away. We kind of waited just a little bit. We didn't do anything drastic on Monday, but by the time we woke up on Tuesday morning, it was clear which direction this was heading, where a lot of the major airports had already issued statements and said that they were going to only recommend masks. So we have a so we went into action on Tuesday, took out any of the signage that referred to requirements, and now we have new signage up. Andrew, do you have any?
Well, it's not up yet. It's just
Okay.
in hand.
Okay.
It'll be up in the
They've
morning.
been printed. So I think that's pretty much the update on that. I have heard that most passengers are not wearing masks.
Mm.
That quickly it changed. Let's see, a couple of other things here. There has been a project upstairs in the TSA area where they do the screening, where they've been replacing those machines, and that's been taking place over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And we've been down to 2 scanners for good chunks of that time, and that has reduced the throughput. But what we're also seeing is the new equipment is looks like it's going to reduce the space that's available inside the TSA area for queuing. So that's pushing more of the queue out into the area that's in our domain, our responsibility to manage. And we're getting into this busier season. So already in April, we're starting to see where we now have to manage that queue downstairs and send batches of people upstairs. It's far from ideal, and it's very labor intensive. There's no real way to automate that, and if there was, it's not going to happen overnight. So we're in a little bit of a scramble to get that well coordinated, and we know that it's only going to get busier as we head into June. But hopefully, as all the equipment gets in there, we'll get things stabilized and reach some kind of a new normal that will make sense to the passengers. Those are some other signs that we're going to have to be producing here relatively soon. And then while we're talking about the terminal, our contract with the advertiser who worked on a lot of the stuff that you see in there today, that's Clear Channel. They kind of mutually, we decided to let that agreement end or not renew at the end of March. So we are working with a new vendor called Fuse, and they are local, or at least they're Southern California. They're smaller. We think they can be more nimble to our local needs, so we're looking forward to working with them. But that's a change from what we've had in the past over there in the terminal. And then lastly, I always like to give a very quick update on minimum standards. I thought maybe we would have this on the agenda today, but we have our consultant working on responses to the public comments that we received, and there were a lot of public comments received, and based on the public comments received, some changes that we may be making to the draft. It's taking a while, and I want to get it right and not rush into the next step on this. So once again, I'm targeting the next meeting, and hopefully we'll see something next month. But that kind of the update there, because I know a lot of folks are wondering what's happening next on minimum standards. And I think that is all I had under the director's report.
Thank you very much, Brian. Are there any public comments based on Mr. Dumar's comments? Okay, we will move on to item number 6, the consent calendar. As you probably all recall, the consent calendar is this miscellaneous grouping of topics that is primarily administrative, and this particular evening it's quite light. We have 2 items. Item number 6 is, and what I'll do is I'll ask for a commissioners to comment when I finish reading these, and then the public comment, and then I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar. So we have 2 items. The first is the minutes. The recommendation is that the Airport Commission waive the reading and approve the minutes of the commission meeting of Wednesday, March 16, 2022. And the second item, number 7, is subject property management report from March 2022. The recommendation is that the Airport Commission receive the monthly airport property management report. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on the consent calendar? Okay. Do you have any comments from the public on the consent calendar? Okay. That doesn't look like we have any discussion, so I'm going to ask for one of our commissioners to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move we accept the consent calendar as is.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowen, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Glazer. The motion has carried unanimously. Oh, actually, no. I
No.
need to invite everybody to vote on this. I would like the commission to vote yay or nay based upon the consent calendar motion.
Yay.
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 That's unanimous now that the commissioners have voted yay for the consent calendar. Okay. All right, we're now moving to administrative reports, and I'm going to ask again on our airport director to introduce our next subject, number 8, update on the new service animal relief area project.
Thank you, Commissioner Houghton. I'm going to further introduce somebody who will then pass it along. I was going to introduce Sarah Iza, our airport development manager, to introduce the item and hand things over to Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Dumar. This is Phil Davis. He's our new project engineer at the airport. He comes to us from Public Works, also City of Santa Barbara, where he was an engineering technician for several years. And he will be discussing the service animal relief area project at the terminal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Isa. Welcome, commissioners, members of the public, and city staff. So I'll be going over a brief presentation on the service animal relief area, and it's just an update on where we are at, or it could be new information if you are fairly new like myself. So just before we jump in, just a few reminders about SARA, this Service Animal Relief Area. What is it? It's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll explain anyways. It's potty area for service animals as well as pets. And which airports need a SARA? Any that have 10,000 or more enplanements. And that is us, Santa Barbara Airport, definitely. And how many SARAs are required? At least one for each terminal. So we will have just one. The main SARA features, surprisingly, there are no main requirements for it. Could be a circle, rectangle, it could be however we like. Except it just must be wheelchair accessible. But there are two surface types that it should have. One is a hard surface, so persons with wheelchairs can easily enter the enclosure area. And a soft surface for the relief area. And then a suggestion is to have a fencing enclosure with a gate to designate that SARA area. Now, signage will definitely be included with this new SARA area. We'll have a new entrance sign, just list the rules, clean up after your pet, your service animal, and it'll list a number for maintenance. And here's an example from Nashville. We can design it however we want to look like, and just keep it brief and just bullet point the rules. We'll also have wayfinding signs. So those will just be small signs that direct passengers on where to find it. And we're also exploring adding supplementary guidance. So that's could be auditory guidance to help persons with vision impairments to direct them to this area, or it could be braille on those wayfinding signs, or even raised maps that we're investigating right now. One requirement about this whole process is that airports are required to consult with a service animal training organization. So that's any organization that specializes in training service animals, promoting service animals. And the Santa Barbara Airport's consultant is Pause and Effects, based out of Des Moines, Iowa. And this is their logo. They're a nonprofit organization. They have trainers that train service animals, primarily dogs. And you can check them out on this website here. And their main services for the Santa Barbara Airport will be to just provide design review to give their best input on how to implement vision impaired features. They'll perform a site visit, so they'll fly out to Santa Barbara to see the new area where we're going to build the SARA. And they'll just overall make sure that we're compliant with the FAA. Now, the location of the SARA, this is a critical piece of the project. So typically, SARAs are built within the terminal building, post-security, so after you pass TSA security. And here's an example of one in Philadelphia. You can see it's right in the sterile area. However, outdoor ones are allowed. There's an exception to the FAA rule. As long as airline carriers, the service animal training consultant that's required, and the airport, us, the Santa Barbara Airport, we all agree that an outdoor one is the best suited location. And I did meet with airline carriers yesterday, and they had no opposition or no concerns raised to it being outside. And the service animal training consultant with Santa Barbara Airport, Paulson Effects, also agrees that is a convenient location to be outside. So here's Santa Barbara Airport's existing SARA. You can see it's a small area. However, it's not the most convenient location. It's a little hidden behind the historic terminal, and it's near the Gate 6 boarding area. So you really have to really look for those directional signs to find it. And it is planning for decommissioning once we build the new SARA. So the new SARA location will be right here on this grassy area, and it will be closer to the main concentration of passengers, so near the main entrance in front of the terminal, and it's on the south end of the building that's by the rental car and baggage area. And just so y'all have a good visual orientation of the existing SARA, it's right there behind the historic terminal, and the new SARA's closer to the main entrance. And here's some examples of some other airports, SARAs that are located outside. We have Washington, D.C.'s International Airport. You can see they have a gate and fence enclosure, pretty simple layouts. And Orlando's outdoor layout of the SARA area. All right, and that brings me to the end of that short presentation. Are there any questions?
Commissioners, any questions on the SARA? I have one, Mr. Davis. I'm curious if there is a plumbing associated with this that will allow for easy maintenance. Is there drainage and nearby water to wash effluent down a drain?
We intend to have irrigation to clean down the surfaces, and there is sufficient drainage, a grade in the new location of the SARA that will easily take care of like cleaning.
Because it is in a high traffic area between the rental cars and the main entrance to the terminal.
Mr. Chair and Commission, Andrew Bermond, Facilities Manager. You're right, and that is a concern. That's part of why the SARA was originally constructed by Gate 6. One of the reasons to relocate to this location is both to bring it into compliance with ADA and FAA regulations, but also to take advantage of the existing water drainage that's available at the site. I think part of the problem with our location is it's a little too hidden, and so it's been either a combination neglected and misused, and I think having it in more in the public site will make sure that both us as a department as well as the users will take better care of it.
Will it be fenced?
Yes.
Okay, good. If the commissioners don't have any other questions, I'll invite the public if there's any comments. Okay. All right, there's no motion or vote required for this, so we will move on to the last item on the budget, on the agenda. And I'm calling once again to Airport Director Dumar to discuss the proposed operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2023.
All right. Thank you, Chair Houghton. Not going to speak too long here, and I'm going to kick things over to Mr. Abad, who will be presenting this item. But before I do that, I did want to maybe a reminder for some, it may be new for others, but as I was thinking about this item and whether or not we need to come to the full commission, or if it would be a subcommittee thing, or if we could go straight to council with our budget, I went to the municipal code and was reminded of the powers and duties associated with the airport commission. And one of them is under, this is in 18.44.070 of the municipal code. It says financial plans and budgets, and this is all under Airport Commission powers and duties. It says financial plans and budgets, the preparation, oh, hold on, I gotta rewind back a little bit. It says the Airport Commission shall have the power and duty to advise the City Council regarding the following, and it includes financial plans and budgets. And it then says the preparation of the financial plan and the budget for the operation of the airport. So that's the when I read that was the moment I knew that we needed to take this item to the full commission. So that's why we're here today. And Jonathan has put a lot of work into preparing for this item, which then feeds into a May 2nd meeting in the afternoon where library goes and then airport department goes in front of the City Council to present our budget. And as we heard from Councilmember Friedman just a little bit ago, for those who might be familiar with the city's old budget document, the bound many 100-page document, we have moved away from that, and we have a digital tool which is really easy to use, and it was made available on Tuesday. I guess that was yesterday of this week. If you just you could probably just Google Santa Barbara budget, and it'll take you right to the budget page, and you can start drilling right down. If you click on airport department, all of the data is there. It's very easy to use, very user-friendly. But today, you'll be seeing a summary of where we're at with this mid-cycle budget. So, Mr. Abad, you want to take it away, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dumar, and good evening, Acting Chair and Commissioners. My name is Jonathan Abad. I'm the airport's business manager. And today we're presenting the airport operating and capital budget along with the proposed rates and fee changes for the fiscal year 2023 for the Airport Commission to recommend its approval. Next slide, please. We'll start off with department overview to go over the airport's financials, such as revenue sources and expenditure types. Then we'll discuss how the pandemic has affected our financials and how we're recovering from it, which will help explain how we've developed our fiscal year 23 budget. Along with the proposed position changes and the airport rates and fees and planned capital expenditures. Then we'll look at the health of our reserves and finish up with some key program achievements by division. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. Okay, and the airport is an enterprise fund. It means that we are financially self-supporting and we don't use any local taxes for operations. According to the federal laws, the airport must generate its own revenues to be self-sustaining, and that no airport revenues may be used for purposes other than airport operations. The airport also must use its own capital needs, must support its own capital needs, and to maintain, develop, and improve airport facilities. And the airport is regulated by the FAA to ensure safety and security. We are a certificated airport, which ensures safety in air transportation. The FAA also provides capital grants as part of the Federal Airport Improvement Program, often referred to as AIP. It provides 90% funding for eligible capital improvement projects. Next slide, please. The airport is organized with 12 programs under 5 divisions, and it's run by staff of 70.5 authorized full-time equivalent, referred to as FTE. That's for permanent staff. We're also supported by 2 full-time engineers provided by the city's Public Works Department, and about 10 fire personnel that runs the aircraft rescue and firefighting unit, often referred to as ARF operations, and some hourly part-time staffing support. Next slide, please. Most of the airport revenues come from property leases, 33% of which comes from terminal leases, 22% from commercial aviation or airlines, 21% from commercial industrial leases, 19% from non-commercial aviation or general aviation. About $1 million in revenue comes from the CFC fund, which I'll explain later. And the rest comes from other revenues and investment income of less than about 2%. Next slide, please. The Santa Barbara Airport has $30 million in total annual budget expenditures under three main funds. Operating fund makes up 88% of the budget at $26.7 million. The passenger facility charge fund makes up 9% of the budget at $2.6 million. In this fund, we get about $4.50 per eligible passengers to help pay for our terminal debt services. And customer facility charge fund makes up 3% of the budget at $1 million. This is the CFC. And it comes from rental cars, and it helps pay for capital expenditure, capital improvements that serve the rental car operations. And next slide, please. Out of the $26.7 million, $7 million in appropriations, salaries and benefits make up the largest expenses at $10.3 million, or 39% of the pie. Supplies and services comes next at $5.8 million, or 22%. Then ARF makes up $3.2 million, or 12% of expenses. Now you'll notice in the OpenGov budget, this ARF actually is included as part of the supplies and services line item, but it's large enough that we broke it out for you. And then there's allocated costs such as the vehicles, information technology, insurance, overhead. This cost makes up $2.9 million, or 11%. Debt service at 7%, capital expenditure 5%, special projects 3%, and the rest 1% equipment, appropriated reserves, and a small transfer to city for an IT project. And next slide, please. By division, the operations and law enforcement makes up the largest share of the operating cost, $9.6 million, or 36%. And the ARF cost is included in this division. The maintenance comes in at the second largest at $8.1 million, or 31%. Administration comes in third at $6 million, 22%. And although there's few staffing in this admin division, all of the airport's debt services and insurance costs, overhead, it's all included in this division. That's why it seems real high. And property management makes up 8%, and capital development at 3%. Next slide, please. And next slide. Now, travel demands surged March 2021, about a year ago, and average airport across California saw around threefold increase in monthly airline passenger count from spring to summer last year. Santa Barbara led among the fastest in recovery in the state, with over six-fold increase in monthly passenger counts from January through July of 2021. Next slide, please. Now, comparing the first half in passenger counts and revenues in the fiscal year 22 with the first half result of the prior year tells the whole story of our recovery from the pandemic. Total fiscal 22 passenger count at mid-year was 293% more than the first half of the prior mid-year. And in the same period, total lease revenues were up about 50%, and mostly from terminal and commercial aviation activities. So in category, terminal revenues up 187%, commercial aviation up 33%, non-commercial aviation up 17%, and commercial industrial up by 2%. Next slide, please. And just want to highlight that concessions and parking revenue from terminal leases topped the highest in percentage gain, followed by commercial aviation, fuel, and then ground transportation fees, and rental car and terminal leases. Next slide, please. Now, by the end of fiscal 22, we're projecting over 1 million total passengers for the first time annually in the airport. And but with some uncertainty from the pandemic, we're cautiously projecting about a 6% annual increase in the following years. Next slide, please. Over the past 5 years, looking back 5 years, total lease revenues grew 33% from $20 million to $27 million, with the largest growth in terminal leases, $3 million or 52%. Commercial industrial leases also grew significantly, as you can see, due to the phase 1 of Hollister development going online, adding about $500,000 in annual revenues during that period. Non-commercial aviation grew $936,000 or 21%, and commercial aviation leases grew about 17% in that period. Next slide, please. Now, over the past 5 years, that's under 16. Okay, yeah, over the same 5-year period, on the expenses side, the budgeted expenses grew about 29%. Increases in special projects like the increase in shuttle program costs, capital expenditures grew 50%. Some expenses we have very little control over, like allocated costs, which grew 48%. ARF went up 27%. Salaries and benefit costs went up 39%. That's mainly due to retirement costs increasing. And discretionary budget in supplies and services and equipment purchases is proposed to only grow about 12% over the past 5 years. So overall, that 29% in proposed increases in total appropriations over 5 years is fully supported by the 33% in forecasted lease revenue growth. So next slide, please. Supplies and services, I want to highlight the supplies and services, which is our discretionary budget. During the pandemic, we had cut this expense by about $396,000 from 2020 to 21, and then from 21 to 22, we cut in another $382,000. So now we're proposing to recover these cuts in fiscal 23 to support our record passenger counts while maintaining the high level of customer service and safety records. Next slide, please. In fiscal 23, we're proposing a $1.7 million increase in appropriations over status quo budget that is supposed to be, that is supported by forecasted increase of about $1.8 million in revenue, same 7%, as you can see. Now, status quo budget, by the way, is a baseline target that was approved for fiscal 23 in the last year's 2-year plan that was approved. So now the 1.8 million, next slide, please. Now the $1.8 million in changes to the revenue budget from the status quo includes $1 million in CFC fees that we've delayed in starting from fiscal 22 to 23. And forecasting revenue last year during the pandemic was, during the lockdown, was a complete shot in the dark. Since we had actual data, at least through the mid-year this year, we adjusted some of the revenues slightly, such as like reducing the commercial aviation and increasing the terminal revenues and slightly reducing non-commercial aviation, as you can see. Now in, next slide, please. In total, we're proposing about a 1.7 million increase to status quo expenditure budget in fiscal '23. And let's go to next slide. And in total, that's 26.7 million. And we're proposing a 1.7 million increase to status quo expenditure, as you can see there. And if you go next slide, please. And here we'll explain what that consists of. 1.7 million increase includes $298,000 in new hourly enforcement support and restoration of our overtime budget to pre-pandemic levels. $243,000 increases in facilities and equipment repairs and maintenance. $177,000 to utility usages and rates. Rate increases, primarily electric rate increases. $175,000. That's in permanent staffing changes. That includes an addition of 2 FTEs, one in custodial and the other one in operations. And the rest is increases in legal administration, contractual services, capital expenditures, special projects, equipment, and various restoring various special supplies and expenditures to pre-pandemic levels, like training and marketing. And next slide, please. Other funds includes the facility, the passenger facility fund with the balanced budget, and the customer facility charge fund with the slight surplus. And let's go to the next page. There's 70.5 proposed FTE in fiscal '23, and including here is 2 proposed FTEs in addition, 1 in custodian and 1 operations supervisor. The supervisor is actually already filled as an overhired position to support our record terminal activities. Now, since we've proposed this budget, we've been approved by the city administrator to add another half FTE to make it a full 71, and this is to increase a part-time engineering tech to full-time with about $62,000 impact. It's not recorded in this budget, but we're intending to include it as part of the changes to the process that will be added for the adoption. And next slide, please. Proposed parking fee increases includes a 25-cent increase to the hourly rate after the first hour, and $2 per day increases to overnight parking in all 3 lots. This will support the increased cost of minimum wage increases. That's gone up about $5 over the past 5 years, and shuttle cost increases. Now, the now we're also anticipating upgrades to the parking equipment that would accommodate reservation system and some auto pay features to make things more efficient. That will help fund this increase rate. And next page, please. Okay, upon review of the ground transportation program, we're proposing to update the fees for the first time since they were introduced in 2020 with an added daily permit option and a new replacement fee to reflect the true cost of administrating the program. And next slide, please. And still along with the ground transportation program, where the pickup and drop-off fees are being proposed to increase about 9% to the less than 10 passenger pickup or drop-off, and about 11% increase to the 10 or more passenger pickup or drop-off. And then next slide, please. Now in airport capital, we're proposing a $546,000 in budgeted project expenses on FAA-funded projects for fiscal '23. And as you can see down the line there, you'll notice a spike in fiscal '26. when taxiway H and terminal expansion construction is planned to begin. And the next slide, please. 800,000 in budget, budgeted for the major ongoing maintenance projects, such as the properties, terminal, and pavement improvements. That's for a total of $1,346,000 in budgeted capital for fiscal '23. Next slide, please. And reserves. So it's next slide. Now, the airport currently has $14 million in total reserves. 10.4 million is in operating reserves, of which 3.7 million is available above policy level. And next slide, please. Okay, here we started the FY22 with $10.4 million in total operating reserves, which 3.6 million is above policy. In fiscal '22, with projected 2.7 million that we're adding to reserves at the end of fiscal '22, we're forecasted to begin fiscal '23 with 6.3 million in above policy reserves, at around 3% in annual revenues and expenditure growth beyond fiscal '23. We should be able to maintain this healthy level, about $3 to $6 million in policy reserves annually to help us through any anticipated events that might come up for us. And next slide, please. And in the end, I'd like to once again highlight some of the major airport accomplishments and milestones this year. Business administration, we replaced all outdated computer workstation across the entire department and worked with the city's fleet program for a regular mobile car wash service for the airport fleet. Marketing had been very busy engaging in new existing partnership developments, such as the Alpha Resource Center, Alaskan Airline Plane Pool, and the other community engagements, such as the Southwest Ticket Giveaway via social media participation and participation in in-chamber in-person events. Properties Division completed the first phase of the Civic's airport property management software by going live on the revenue management module. And facilities maintenance received the ACI Airport Health Accreditation, that's the AHA, to ensure health and safety of our guests and passengers through recovery. They also completed construction of Airline Support Center to accommodate central location for terminal employee locker rooms, meeting space, and office and storage. And facility maintenance also completed a remodel of various offices in the administration building, and airport operations completed recruitment for 3 new operations supervisor during the most challenging times in recruitment, by the way. They also promoted 2 existing airport security aides to the operations specialist position. And our new capital development team, they completed the consultant RFQ for the terminal expansion and the parking lot structure project, RFQ for that. They also issued RFQ for the master plan project and received coastal development permit and planning approval for the Southfield redevelopment project. And next slide, please. To wrap up, Airport recommends that the Commission approve the Department's fiscal '23 budget and proposed changes to rates and fees. Thank you so much. And next slide.
Thank you, Mr. Abad. Outstanding presentation. Very much discipline here, which I love to see. But I'm going to open it up to my fellow commissioners for comment and any questions for the group. Levi?
Yeah, I just have a question, make sure I'm reading it correctly. I think it was slide 27 or 28 where you talked about the proposed ground transportation fee changes.
Yes.
Am I reading it correctly that we're eliminating the annual fee option for Uber and Lyft rideshare drivers and changing it to a $50 daily fee?
Commissioner Maya, we are not eliminating the annual fee. We are actually adding an optional daily fee. So what happens here is we have an annual fee, or they could pay monthly, the 30-day, or they could do a daily, because there's been demand for daily permitting, and so that's it's an option. It's
Okay,
not-
because on that, it looks like it's grayed out fiscal year 23 permit fees, rideshare, Uber, Lyft. I don't see a line item for it.
I see. That's a good point. That is not a change. Yeah, it's for the rideshare Uber. You're right. They never offered it, the 30-day, and so we don't have a new 30-day for that. It's the other one.
But do we have an annual option? Because it looks like the annual is being eliminated on that graphic.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, I'm sorry. That is an error. That
Okay.
should be an increase of to 150. That's a
Perfect.
good catch.
That makes
It is
sense.
a-
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to be sure we weren't eliminating it, because if probably a lot of rideshare drivers would be disappointed to have to pay $50 a day.
Yeah.
Thanks for catching up.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't actually the actual fee change. This is just my presentation. Oh, thank you for clarifying.
Commissioner Glazer.
Thank you, sir. Given the pilot shortage and other labor shortages that we're seeing, do you see that as a risk to any of our revenues, landing fees, or anything?
I really don't, because the airline would find a way to work that out. It's their bottom line that they're concerned about, and ultimately, the better they do, the better we do, and so I think they should be able to manage that on their own. If the demand is there, they'll find a way to meet it.
Then additionally, looking at the different leases and the various lease options, we've got some aggressive increases that are built in here. And I know several of our leases have CPI adjusters built into them. Are these done on the anniversary of executing of the lease and staggered throughout the year, or is this something that's more tied to a specific date throughout the year?
Commissioner Glazer, our property manager might be better to answer this. Sure.
So the lease rates do adjust by CPI on an annual basis consistently, so.
And they're staggered throughout the year based on the contractual obligation that...
Yes, because they go based on the anniversary
Got it.
of the lease, yeah.
Okay, so those increases will be
Every month,
various.
we're chasing it down. Trust me.
Very good, thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments? Commissioner Bowen, you're unusually quiet. I do have a concern about the increasing costs of our operations and security and fire. Have we filled all the positions? Are we still paying significant overtime?
If maybe Mr. Dumar.
Yeah, I'd be happy to give an answer on that. So in the area of airport patrol, we are experiencing a lot of overtime, as well as in operations. In the SOC, we've got staff who are, right now they're working 12-hour shifts, and some of them are having to work additional shifts beyond their regular shift. So it's a lot to manage, and it's not ideal to have staff working, routinely working a lot of hours every week. We're looking at what the new normal is going to be for airline activity, and we think we've more or less achieved that, seeing last calendar year take away the first half of the year, but the second half of the year was very busy. Other than this little dip from Omicron, it has remained very busy. January wasn't super busy, but February, March, and April have been quite busy, and these aren't our busiest months. It's usually the second half of the year that's the busiest. So I think we're at this new normal level of activity that is requiring us to to look more closely at what the minimum level of staffing is so that we aren't burning people out. And there may need to be some changes to this budget that is in front of you in order to address that. It's just, all of these changes that have been happening, first with COVID and then with this rapid recovery, it seems like we're always just a little bit behind. But as an enterprise, we've got a little bit more flexibility to make some adjustments as we need to in order to keep up with that. So we've been having those discussions internally pretty much on a daily basis. And like I said, trying to ramp up our staffing, even though there is a cost associated with that, we're obligated to provide these services.
Right. Thank you. You can't go, 3 blocks on State Street and not see help wanted signs everywhere. So we're affected by this just as all businesses. So, but that's a tough one when I see that increase in the labor costs for fire and protection and operations. So I think I'm going to open this up for the...
Actually, because of what you spoke, I actually have some questions.
Good.
Yeah, you coaxed me out of my shine.
Please.
So one of my questions is very minimalistic and detailed, but he's bringing up the costs of fire protection. I think it goes up 27% over your time frame. And I do believe, does that include the cost of the two new ARF trucks during that time frame?
No, that is, Commissioner Bowen, that is on top of the ARF costs. We contract with fire. We have gotten grant, though, for the last truck, so that helps out.
So we did see a significant increase in our ARF costs then?
Yes, and that is primarily driven by the fire department, which operates that for us.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, and it was a very good presentation.
Thank you.
We do appreciate the discipline. It's, I think I just read in the Los Angeles Times that Santa Barbara Airport had the largest increase in passenger volume of the 12 states reported on in the state of California. So that's very impressive. And it reminds me that when things are going well, that you make asks, right? Not when you're down and beaten. Might be time to go back to Southwest and say, things are heating up here. If you want to add another flight, San Jose. We need San Jose. I'm reminded weekly about the number of engineers driving to Sunnyvale and Mountain View and Cupertino. And these are small companies with 3 or 4 employees. So anything we can do to coax Southwest to add that Southwest flight, we could use it to San Jose. And now I'm going to open it up to the public if there's any comments. Okay. Well, then I'll, commissioners, any other comments before we move to make a motion to accept the fiscal year 2023 airport operating and capital budget? Okay, I would like to ask for a member of the commission to make a motion that we accept the fiscal year 2023 airport operating and capital budget.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Shall we take a roll call? Just a voice? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. And that is our last agenda item, number 9. And I think this may be a new record, 1 hour and 4 minutes. We don't have Mr. Curry, Chair Curry, maybe making additional comments compared to Mr. Houghton. So I adjourn this meeting at 7:04 p.m. Thank you very much, everybody.